Hello, everyone. Welcome to a whole new podcast series by Gan.ai. We'll explore the strategies, tactics, and most importantly, the stories behind some of the most successful campaigns with the people who led them. This is an opportunity for all of us to uncover and learn what it takes to build exceptional brands. Thanks for tuning in, and let's get started.
All right.
In the grand scheme of things.
In today's episode, we have with us Rajneesh Bolia, Ogilvy's Executive Vice President and Head of Creative Tech and Innovation. Throughout his glittering career, Rajneesh has gone against the odds and turned extraordinary, never before seen campaign ideas into reality. Today, we'll speak to him about the advances in generative AI and how the most innovative brands are using it to transform the way they communicate with their customers. Thanks a lot, Rajneesh, for speaking.
No, very happy to be here and happy with the work that you guys have been doing and the theme of the episode. I like talking about tech and tech's role in advertising, and increasingly so. You know the kind of work that we've been trying to do. So yeah, very happy to be here. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rajneesh. So I'll get straight into it. I think the first thing that I always wanted to ask you was your story. How you got into tech and innovation side of advertising. I don't think like 10 years back I would have ever imagined that this role exists. When I was back in college, if I knew about this role, I probably would have aimed to get into this role. To be honest, I just want to know from you, how did you get into this, and what is your story?
So, okay, I mean, before getting into my journey in advertising, I would take a minute to talk about my journey in life. So, as a child, I was a very curious child. I mean, I would open things up. I've opened up TV sets to figure out kaise chalta hai. I've opened up Walkman, like the first ever Walkman I think I got when I was in ninth standard. Third day I opened it up to figure out, and of course I couldn't put it back together. So family, everybody in the family was like, "Arey, ye to engineer banega." So finished my 10th standard, and without any consultation, without any questions asked, I was put into a electronics engineering diploma in a college called Father Agnes in Vashi. Always wanted to come to Bombay to study, but Vashi in my head was not Bombay. Like, and this I'm talking about 20 years back, 23 years back. Uh, yeah, year 2000. So I'm like, okay, I'm in Bombay, but I'm not in Bombay. And I was staying in a hostel with a deadline of 4 p.m. So 3:30 you finish college, and it was a college hostel. By 4 p.m. there was a roll call. So miserable first year. Somehow got to the end of the second year, एंड देन आई वाज लाइक बस यार अब नहीं होगा मतलब इससे ज्यादा नहीं हो पाएगा इंजीनियर नहीं बनना मुझे सो आई मीन टिपिकल इंडियन मिडिल क्लास फैमिली फुल ड्रामा वेस्ट ऑफ टाइम वेस्ट ऑफ मनी blah 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 blah. I was like nahi, I need to do something else. Long story, but I landed up going to a law college in Pune. So I studied law for 3 years, and law has a 5-year course. So in the first 3 years, you get a bachelor's, and in you get your first bachelor's, and then after 2 more years, you get your second bachelor's. But by the time I finished my second year in law, I was working with a small time outdoor slash activation agency in a part time role in Pune. बहुत मजा आता था मतलब that time Airtel broadband was very new, so we did some activations and it was fun. But of course, I mean that was my first exposure to advertising, and I was like, okay, अब जाना तो marketing में है. So started doing research and कहाँ पढ़ाई करें, MBA करना पड़ेगा and all of that. So gave my CAT, scored good enough to get into MICA. And that from there on, it was that I am going to be in advertising. What exactly in advertising, I didn't know. But advertising करनी है. By the time I finished my postgrad, I was like, okay, advertising तो बहुत हो रही है, but experiential marketing is a very unorganized space in India. So, I mean, back then there were these huge event agencies who would do activations also. When I say activations, it's a one-on-one interaction between the brand and the consumer. That's the way I understood it back then. That's the only channel where a brand is allowing the customer to have a two-way conversation versus all the other channels where it is a one-way communication, whether it is TV, whether it is radio, billboard, newspaper ad, one-way communication. On-ground activation is where you talk to the customer and the customer is able to react to whatever you're doing in real time and you're able to gauge कि चल रहा है नहीं चल रहा है. So landed up working for a year for an event agency in an activations role in Delhi. And in that time, again, there was another realization that there is scope to use technology to enhance these experiences, in-person experiences. So back in 2012, and that's where I think I like to believe was my first step into the world of technology and innovation in advertising, is where we managed to do a 3D mapping show on India Gate for Volkswagen in partnership with the Tourism Ministry of India at that point. It was basically the tourism ministry was launching the entire Green India initiative or Clean India initiative, sorry. And Think Blue was anyway something that Volkswagen used to talk about back then. So it was a marriage made in heaven. So a show put together for keeping the monuments clean, sponsored by Volkswagen, but the use of technology. And that was probably the first time a 3D mapping show was done on a national monument in India, at least.
Very cool.
So from
And
there
since then,
on,
there have been so many. Like since then, there's so much
yeah,
that happens in Qutub Minar and India Gate and Gateway of
yeah,
India. I think it's now becoming the standard. Glad to know you were a part of the
yeah.
first one.
So yeah, no, I mean it was fun. I mean, and the good part was that there were, as usual, budget constraints, so we could not get people like New Former, who were the pioneers in 3D mapping projection back then, based out of Netherlands, because just their fee was what the overall budget was. Thankfully, we found people who were willing to try and make it happen in India. So I got together a bunch of people, somebody with the hardware, somebody with experience in animation but never done mapping animation, somebody who would work on a watch out software. Watch out is essentially a software that you use to create um, um, or to create screens which are not regular size. So essentially, the large LED displays that you see, uh, watch out is the software that powers them, right? So a bunch of willing people who came together. We created a mock of India Gate, tried a lot of things, and so on and so forth. But yeah, I mean, not getting into too many details right now. But yeah, good fun experience, and I got in the sense of satisfaction when the first show happened. It became like a chase that ye karna hai, and I am going to now keep exploring new technologies and try and build some sort of um, expertise in emerging tech, and I'm calling it emerging tech now. तब तो पता भी नहीं था क्या बोले. So over the next 2-3 years, experiential technology was the term that a few of us in the event industry coined. I went off to do things on my own, started working with various event agencies, did a lot of work with Ogilvy, did a lot of work with Gray, as a consultant, as a vendor, uh, and managed to put together a few good activations which were powered by technology. Uh, from there on, I think it just became sort of a thing that, anything that is not readily available, um, go to Rajneesh and he'll probably try and figure out a solution with at least my set of clients back then. Uh, 2018, 2017, I think, was the second big break in my head, at least, is when Ogilvy reached out to me and said that, we are bringing the pug back, but this time it's not one pug, it's going to be an army of pugs. And what we want to do is we want to put multiple pugs on a badminton court in the Premier Badminton League final. But because there are laws in the country, we obviously can't put real pugs. How do we go about it? So we worked backwards, dabbled with a few trial and errors, eventually settled on live AR. So what we managed to achieve in a matter of around 25 days was when the final was broadcasted, we had around 11 pugs come on to the court. The commentators interacted with them, of course, in augmented reality, and then they walked out before the final match started. And that was done live on TV on Star Sports. There were a lot of
Wow.
question marks as to hoga, nahi hoga. I switched off my phone on the day 2 hours before going live. And of course, I had somebody from Ogilvy say, and I'm like, listen, I'm switching off my phone because I need to just now be calm and do this. So yeah, but that happened, and that sort of established me as a person to go to make things happen when they feel like they cannot be done. And from there on, the journey has been pretty linear as well as dynamic. 2019, we did a bunch of and innovation-driven activations at a place like Prayagraj / Allahabad for the Kumbh Mela. Uh, Chai machines, which will give you a hot cup of tea if you deposit garbage in it. Uh, Custom created nets, which were attached to boats that take people from one side of the river to the other side. So while they are ferrying these passengers, they would collect garbage, and we landed up collecting close to 100 tons of garbage over a period of 40 days. Then there were, and of course, I mean, every innovation is not necessarily um, web-based or tech-based. There was a lot of mechanical engineering involved. There was a lot of chemical engineering involved. We created saris which were hydrophobic. So essentially, one of the big problems at home is women go take a dip, and people take pictures, and those pictures that circulate on internet, right? And this is without anybody's consent. So we created a sari which does not become wet. So you go take the dip, you've done your religious ritual, but the sari is not sticking to your body. So even if somebody is taking a picture, it is I wouldn't say safe, but it is relatively safer than what the past experiences have been. So top of my mind, I can remember these three, but we had around eight such different activations. And then KD offered to say, why don't you come in and set up a division which specializes in this? And we took 6 months to even coin the name as to what is it that we call ourselves. So 2019, when I joined, we used to call ourselves Innovation Delivery. And over the last 4 years, of course, there has been a lot of work, a lot of alignments, not just within Ogilvy, but globally in the advertising fraternity. And creative tech is now something that is recognized. So we've now renamed ourselves to Creative Tech and Innovation. But yeah, I mean that's been the journey. Sorry, it took a while, but I had to give you the background.
No,
Uh,
absolutely. I loved it. I'm glad I'm a part of this conversation right now. Thank you so much for going all the way back to 2012 and the light show, and the pubs all the way to like doing stuff that may not have direct impact, but has like massive moral impact, like hydrophobic saris and
yeah,
doing cleaning like tons of waste, etc. I'm glad that brands are also supporting such causes, and giving the freedom and
yeah.
flexibility to teams like yours to do this. And on those lines, right? I mean, what do you think is which brand do you think is like absolutely killing it with marketing and ads, particularly today?
So I'm a little biased here. I'll be honest with you. I have two lenses when you ask me this question. One lens is the brand consistently doing the same thing? Because we see a lot of very good campaigns, uh, but they're not consistent with what the brand has been doing, which doesn't work for me unless there is a brand positioning shift that has happened. And two, how are you leveraging new tools and technologies available to create delight for your customers, right? So with these two lenses, I feel two brands that I would say are consistently doing this. One is Cadbury's Celebration, and second is Cadbury's Silk. And maybe at par or maybe somewhere close to Cadbury's Silk is Five Star. Uh, it is. I mean, while I say this, I realize I'm taking all Mondelez brand names, but I think they are the only company which believe in being consistent, and they stick to it. Like if Celebrations platform is generosity, everything that you have seen in the last 3 4 years is about generosity. If Silk's space is about expression of love, they've stuck to their guns. And every year, what we do around Valentine's Day is the exact same thing. It's and the messaging is the exact same. Of course, the medium and the channel and the way we do it is new every year. Similarly, with Five Star, I mean, they are anti-culture. They are about singles. They are about doing nothing, and they're about making doing nothing cool, right? And everything that we do is consistent with that positioning. And I'm saying we because proudly they are our brands. But yeah, I would say in that order, it's Celebrations, Silk at Five Star.
No, absolutely. And I think all three brands as a consumer, are having their own, stories very well embedded in my head. So for example, like Five Star, even before mental wellness was a thing, Five Star was the only brand really coming out there and saying that, dude, it's cool to
Yeah,
just chill. It's just cool to
yeah,
not do anything, right? And that was such a strong message that got embedded in like a lot of people in my generation that there's at least one brand that is not asking us to hustle, the way every other
yeah,
brand is, right, constantly.
yeah,
And they stayed true. You're right. They absolutely stayed consistent with that messaging. And then
yeah,
eventually started using tech to hammer that even better. Silk, I think, was launched when as a premium gift of sorts when my generation started to
yeah,
start earning a little bit money, and then you would make that the absolute premium gift that you can give to your girlfriend back in the day, or to your best friend if it's his or her birthday, and it would
yeah,
always come across as a chocolate that has that premiumness attached to it, and it was actually like for that time, apart from all the imported chocolates that some of our guests or family friends or otherwise people would get from other countries. This was became the only chocolate
yeah,
that was readily available in the nearby store and had that premiumness attached to it at the same time.
yeah,
That is very cool. And now celebrations, now that we've gone deeper into celebrations with you, I'm just loving what celebrations is also doing. And we'll talk about it.
yeah.
But no, thanks. And I'm absolutely with you on the brands that you picked. Uh, Specifically, for brands in 2023, what are the most effective marketing channels? Now that there's so many more channels that have opened up. Back in the day, it was mostly only television. But now
Yeah.
today, like, what do you think are the most effective channels? And how do you even measure the success across these channels? Now things are becoming very complex in terms of how many channels there are, and the success metrics to be measured across these channels to understand where do we spend the most amount of money. Like, how do you help brands navigate through this? And what do you think are the most effective marketing channels today?
Um, so let me work backwards on this. I think because of the data or the mobile data blast that has happened over the last few years in India, to me, mobile is the go-to marketing channel, right? And that's as far as the channel goes. However, it all boils down to what you're doing with that channel, right? So I mean, to give you an example, you can use the fact that every or almost everybody has a smartphone of some level in his hand. You can use it to push a WhatsApp message, for lack of better example, or you could use it to create something as impactful as the SRK campaign, right? So how you use the channel, and we will probably touch upon it later on. But yeah, mobile as a channel for me is the most effective. Along with mobile, I would say on ground is another channel which is the most effective because that allows the customer to have a chance to experience the brand. And when I say brand, I mean the brand and not the product. Uh, it's your ethos. It's what the brand stands for. And on ground is the only place where there is a physical manifestation that you're able to create of what the brand stands for. So for me, I would say as of 2023, these are two most important channels or two most effective channels for consumer brands. And of course, with support from TV and radio or print and so on and so forth, it just amplifies the fact that there is something on these two channels.
Got it. Love how you
Right.
put it. Yeah. Go on.
Yeah, no, so I was saying, so that's one part of your question.
Yeah.
The second part, how do you measure the success? Now, see, I mean, I can get into the scientific ways of measuring success, and that's I don't think I want to get into it. But broadly speaking, see, there are three things that I look at. One is what sort of engagement am I getting? And when I say engagement, I'm not talking about if 1 lakh people visited my website, how many people spent at least 10 seconds, how many people registered, how many people uh, at least got to the point where my message was translated to them. The way I look at engagement is how many people are completing the journey, how many people are willing to complete the journey. So while in the marketing world, uh, effectiveness or engagement rate, or in the Google world, the engagement rate percentages are calculated in a very different manner. It is about how much time somebody has spent. For me, it is, I mean, you might have come, you might have read what the campaign is about, you might have given some time of your life, but if you didn't get to the end stage and didn't complete the experience, then for me, you didn't engage with something along the way didn't work for you, right? So that's one parameter. Second parameter is the the how do I put it? The organic conversations that my campaign is able to generate, right? So whether it is on professional platforms like LinkedIn or social platforms like Instagram and Twitter, if if people are talking about it without me prompting about it, then that's successful. Right now, depending on the scale, depending on how many people I am reaching out to begin with, we can always get into the scientific ways of saying that okay, 5% chatter is happening on social media, then the campaign is doing great. But I mean, those are the nitty gritties of this thing. But organic conversations is the second way to measure the success. And third is when people start telling people to try it out, right? And those are, I mean, also there are also ways to measure those, and we've implemented those ways where there is always a reference link that people are able to share, and we know what percentage of people are coming from reference links. But largely speaking, I think these are the three parameters for me as an individual to measure the success of any campaign. If I talk about how we as an organization measure the success, then I'll have to revert back to saying that what percentage of people who are choosing to come to the microsite are registering with us. That's one big parameter. Uh,
Yeah.
Another big parameter is how many people are watching the case study film or the idea film on YouTube. That is another parameter which is important. We also measure uh, uh, the percentage of positive comments that we get on YouTube when an idea film is presented or when an idea is sort of launched the first time for the first 15, 20 days. We measure what is the percentage of positive sentiment that the comments are able to generate. So broadly, I mean, individual level, organization level, this is how we look at things. But as a creative agency, that is where we stop, because then the ball moves to the media side of things, and of course science comes in, and CPAs come in, and cost per impression comes in, and so on and so forth. But we don't really get into that. For us, as a creative idea, did the idea work or no? There are only two or three parameters that we look at.
Love it. So where does AI fit in, in all of these things? It's like, I know, probably you started doing AI before it became sexy. But now it's very sexy. Everyone is talking about it. Like, we get people literally saying that we don't know what you do, but we need to use you and now figure a way out to use you, and I'll talk more about it. But I think you do it in a lot more scientific and organized way. I've seen it firsthand now. So how do you see AI reshaping the future of advertising and marketing? Like, is it here to stay? Is it only, something that is a trend? And what are the opportunities and challenges that you anticipate in the AI domain at large?
So, I mean, uh, let me. AI has been around. Let's start with that, right? I mean, uh, 2020, I think, was the first big use. No, 2019, I think, was the first big use case for us in terms of use of AI. Um, so, I mean, for our listeners, I would just specify that AI is not the same as generative AI. What right now people are talking about is generative AI, but AI has been around. You know, you know about this, that a camera being able to identify objects is AI. There
Yep.
is a huge amount of machine learning that goes into it. At least 4 years now, AI has been around. We have been using AI in various ways. A couple of use cases that I can talk about is 2019 Christmas, we launched a campaign for Vodafone Idea Limited, um, where we said, no, 2020 December, sorry, this was uh, during lockdown, that every Santa is a V Santa. This is right after Vodafone Idea, or Vodafone became V after the merger of Vodafone and Idea. Very simple idea, but powered by AI. You go to a microsite, it asks you for a camera permission, you point at any form of Santa, living, sketched, image, then we extended it to other Christmas elements, and that would get you a reward as a Vodafone Idea customer. Right. And the engagement rate was so high that at some point we had to go back and ask for more money from the brand. And the brand obviously was more than happy to do it because the API usage costs, and I mean, you're aware of what API costs are at whatever we call costs. But yeah, I mean, if I remember correctly, I think we had around 3.9 or 4.9 million scans that happened over a period of 1 week. Uh,
Wow. Wow.
Right. So that was I think one big use case. Another use case, which is something that we built as an initiative for World Heart Day for ICICI Lombard. This was again 2 years back. It was called CalScan, and we integrated it within the IL Take Care app, which is the ICICI Lombard app for their customers. Simple user interface where you click a picture of what you are about to consume, and it'll tell you approximately how many calories you're consuming. Right. Again, powered by AI. Again,
Yeah.
we worked with a specialized company which had over 3 years built database of various food items, calculated the calories. It was an integration done as a web app, and that web app was then integrated within the client app. And then 6 months later, we handed it over to the ICICI Lombard internal tech team, and this is a standard feature that is there on their app now. Right. So I think the question itself or part of the question itself in my head is moot that, uh, yeah, a lot more people want to use AI and Gen AI now, but without consciously being aware of it. A lot of campaigns have been built with the use of AI. Right? Any campaign, any web app that has been built where you are able to identify things, where you're able to predict things. A part of augmented reality is also built on AI. For the world tracking is built on AI. So AI has been playing a big enough role in our lives for a while. Now with Gen AI coming in, I think it's just built a lot more excitement because it is giving people an ability to create things on the go, right? I mean, it is it is it is amazing, and it is only uh, going to get better. The output is only going to get sharper, um, and opportunities. I think there are plenty of opportunities. Something as simple as personalized content at scale. The WhatsApp blast that I was talking about. That image can be personalized at the click of a button and can be automated because Gen AI can do that. And personalized not just to say that naam change ho gaya, personalized to this tune of saying at what time of the day the blast is going, who is it going to, what age group is it going to. So you are able to suddenly personalize the entire content piece to the user's profile and personality and um, what might appeal to him or her. Right? That's one part. From the challenges perspective, I think one big challenge that I see is the uninformed implementation that is inevitable, but that is something that people should be aware of because from a legal perspective, it's a gray area, right? I mean, eventually, generative AI is using a large data set to create something. So it's not always necessarily original and copyrightable or copyright. And I mean, it's something that we can probably touch upon later when we get deeper into generative AI, if we do. But that's a big concern that I have. That uh, are we as advertisers doing the right legal checks before going out and putting something in front of the consumer? Are we opening ourselves up to litigation? Uh, so that's one part of it. The second part of it is a very controversial topic in my head, but I'll still touch upon it. Is uh, by definition or by design, generative AI is bound to be biased in some form or another, right? And I'm not saying every use case. I'm saying image generation. I'm saying content generation, which is open ended. You know, a Gen AI image generator might or might not be able to get past the biases which are inherent to the data sets which have been uploaded. Right, and I'm aware that a lot of generative AI companies are putting in a lot of efforts to overcome this. But that's one big challenge, which I feel as long as there is awareness, people will try to at least overcome those challenges or at least put a human lens on the kind of output that you're getting to ensure that what is going out is not going out unfiltered. So for me, I think that's the big challenge. Otherwise, I see this as a big opportunity for scaling up, for doing more, for reaching out to more people, personalizing it for more people, and so on and so forth.
Absolutely. I think, if you, as long as you're using it as a tool which is solving a problem for you and not using it just because, it's a thing that you absolutely have to use under pressure, I think you end up
Yeah,
making the best use of it. And then when you're doing it with all awareness and, and problem at hand, I think to overcome challenges, you can make sure that you're solving for the legal boundaries that needs to be under, and the biasness that comes with it. And yeah, I mean, I think I'll take you deeper into it, because my next question is actually about the brilliant AI campaign that you did with
Okay.
Cadbury celebrations. Everyone is talking about it. So walk us through the whole process of ideating, from the ideation stage to the execution stage of the birthday song campaign. Would love to
Uh,
hear directly.
so this one has been one hell of a ride. You've been a part of the journey, so you know most of it. But um, so okay, from the ideation stage, I think we started around 4 to 5 months back, saying एक ही हैप्पी बर्थडे गाना है, वही बार बार गाते हैं. Can we personalize uh, uh, a happy birthday song for every user or every consumer or every individual in the world? I said, why not? So from there, the journey started. Initially, the plan was, or not even the plan, the solution on the table was to create 50, 100, 200 songs and then personalize them with names and certain words within those lyrics. Um, मजा नहीं आ रहा था. So we then said that, okay, let's junk this solution. Let's try to do it in its purest form, which is to say that हम 5 सवाल 4 सवाल पूछेंगे about the person whose birthday it is. Lyrics have to be generated instantaneously. Lyrics have to be sung instantaneously, and then music has to be created instantaneously, and all of it has to come together and as a song. One thing that we said to ourselves is we don't want the output to be sent to the user later, even if it is 2 minutes later. वो तो नहीं चलेगा, because then the whole idea of doing it instantaneously goes away. Uh, so with that filter, we started our journey. Spoke to a lot of people. Some laughed at us. Some said, "Kar lenge." Some said, "We will charge you X amount and then come back and tell you कि हो सकता है या नहीं हो सकता है." So a lot of conversations, and I will not get into the details of who and where and when and all of that. Eventually, I think we found a right mix of partners. You being one, uh, where you are helping us generating the vocals, and great job at that as well. And the latency at which the latency that you're able to reduce for this campaign, I think that's something that I must say is something that we all sort of appreciate and love, and the effort that was put in from your side to make that happen. But I'll come back to the whole journey. So we found one partner based out of US who had rap as a genre cracked. We found you, who said vocals is something that you can tackle very well. Um, Along with vocals, the phoneme durations and how each word should be stressed or not stressed on and so forth is another thing that you guys helped us with. Then back to the US partner, Uberduck, who said we have a proprietary tool in place which is able to identify where the vocals need to start within a musical piece that is generated and where it needs to end, and the beat matching has to happen, and so on and so forth. And then we started the journey. We all worked in on Indian working hours and then the US working hours for a long duration. I think almost 2 months we did that. Um, Along the way, we realized that okay, rap कर रहे हैं तो why not singing? So we again uh, started the whole journey that okay, we are now sorted with rap, but let's not stop. So rap was on its way to go live. We found another partner based out of Seattle again, called Refit, and they're not even people who started off saying that we want to build a product which is about generating songs. They started out as a chiropractic uh, startup to help autistic children learn. But a byproduct of what they landed up creating is what we are using right now. And they were in a beta stage with their own set of problems. Um, so again, same journey. Daytime work here, nighttime work with them. Uh, but yeah, I will not get into details. But what we have now, or what we managed to launch with Rap First, and the kind of love we got, the kind of response we got across board from consumers, from other marketeers, from people within the industry, and then when singing came out, and then the same kind of love, and now we are exploring. Um, More with you as to how to enhance, and what that more is, I think, is something which is a surprise, so let's keep it at that. But I think we've started on a journey which is at least a year long journey from here on. And we're going to keep enhancing the experience, and those enhancements, as and when we are in a position to talk about it. I think you and I will talk about it together again, on our respective handles. But yeah, I mean, I would say that it has been one of those projects which you remember when you retire. And I'm only
Yeah.
39. I have a long way to retirement, but I know this is something that I will remember even 25, 30 years from now.
Oh,
It's been that
absolutely.
kind of a journey.
And it's been
And
the same
one,
for me, actually. Yeah.
yeah,
I was just about
no,
to add that.
and
Yeah, I was about to add that, like the reactions that people give when they watch the videos that have been generated for
yeah,
them is
yeah,
priceless. Like,
yeah,
I've shown it to maybe 40, 50 people by now, like live, and immediately
yeah,
when they see, the output, they just have a smile on their face. And that is
yeah,
priceless. Yeah.
yeah. No, and I mean, again, going back to what I was saying about celebrations and what we have remained true to, that it is generosity, it is delight, uh, and this idea and this campaign delivers on both our promises. So and end of the day, it is about appealing to the basic human emotion, right? So we were able to achieve that with this. Another bit about this campaign is I don't think um, there are 7 partners involved in this. From the from the talent agency to the media agency to the core tech partners, of course, which are you and Oviduck and Refit now. But the ancillary partners who made this happen, who made the talent understand the use case, for them to record the way, uh, the, jo- how do I put it? I mean, for somebody to record non-stop 10 hours in a studio shows the commitment, understanding that this data is required versus saying, why do you need 10 hours? I can do 2 hours and you guys figure it out. So a lot of things in the back end, the commitment that all the partners showed, I think was commendable. And that is what enables us to be able to do this. And I always say this in a lot of forums, that I am able to do what I'm able to do, and my team is able to do that. That they are able to do is because of the partners that we have. And we are in a system, where partners have always been third party, and we're trying to shift that needle slowly, one day at a time, to say that they're not third party, they are partners. Uh, we are advertisers, we are creative people who can think of ideas, we are creative tech people who can think of solutions as to how to make those ideas happen. But the actual work will need to be done by partners like GAN and so on and so forth. And we need to partner with them and not make it a commercial relationship. Commercials to hai, matlab, that is a given. But we have to work as equals. Otherwise, we are not going to be able to achieve what we want to achieve. Otherwise it's a transaction.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's something that uh, Ogilvy understood very early. So the way, and I would redirect that question to you that uh, did you feel like partners working with us? And if you did, I think we've managed to move the needle
No,
quite a
absolutely.
bit.
Absolutely. In fact, like you being very specific of the fact that, we'll mention all the partners in PR, we'll mention all the partners in, our social handles, and, everyone mentions every partner, and being very particular about it, like shows how much you care about displaying this as a project that everyone did together, and not just like,
Yeah,
Ogilvy and celebrations. And you could have easily, like not mentioned the partners in PR and not mentioned the partners in your social handles. And there are a lot of brands that we work with where we have to fight it out to get that,
yeah,
get that recognition. A lot of times we don't, get that recognition. But then also, like, we treat them as transactions, and we treat this as family, and that really reflects in the work as well.
yeah.
So yeah, that actually goes a very long way. The relationship that you build with your partners.
Good to hear that. This was one of the agendas that I came in with because I came from that side. I was a vendor. I was a partner, or rather, a vendor. I hate the word vendor. So
Yeah. And like you already touched upon it, so you can definitely be brief on this one. But a lot of times, like when I'm in conversations with brands and agencies, they are directly thinking of ROI, and immediate ROI for a campaign that they're spending significant money on. Uh, for such a campaign where you're just giving a piece of gift to people, right? That hey, why don't you wish your friends happy birthday using this particular rap song, and we're not charging you for it. There's so many
yeah,
technologies out there that would charge you $10 or 500 rupees to get this rap song otherwise, and you're just giving it away for people to just generate very high quality songs on birthdays for each other.
right.
What metrics you use to measure the success of such campaigns?
I think I'll revert back to the same thing that I said earlier, that it is about the love that we see for the brand. It is the only metrics as a creative agency that we look at is the needle uh, of brand love, right? Because see, sales is a different animal altogether. We don't get into it. It's not something that we worry about. Our job is to create consideration for the brand, and then there is science to how that consideration translates to sales and all of it. But we don't get into it. Our job is to create consideration for the brand. And what we have realized over the last few years that there are more than one ways of creating consideration for a brand. It doesn't have to be about the product. End of the day, I am selling chocolate. Celebrations is a box of sorted chocolates, right? The whole country knows about it. I don't need to harp about the fact that it is a box of chocolates. Um, am I able to get more and more people to bring um, on board with the platform of generosity? Uh, that is one measure that I would say, and it is again something that you see over time, and why I say that, or why I mentioned earlier that one campaign does not establish that form of generosity. It has taken us one campaign after another to establish that, and um, so we don't look at the success of such campaigns in isolation. We look at the success of such campaigns as a collective to see that when we launch the platform of generosity, how has the needle moved with each campaign? So, if, shop the first campaign that we did before SRK. So SRK was 2.0, not just another ad, but the 1.0 was where we, did generosity during COVID, promoting local retailers selling everyday items, right? We created a personalized, targeted YouTube ad campaign that year. Next year, it was SRK, which I don't think I need to talk about that campaign. That became another big one, and it benefited more than 2.5 lakh retailers in the country. Right. The third one in that installment was the shops for shopless, which we did last year, which again, great numbers. Maybe awards don't reflect it, but it was a great campaign where we championed the roadside vendors who sell Diwali stuff, in the month leading up to Diwali. So starting from Navratri all the way to Diwali, the diyas, the decorations, the lanterns, the flowers, the roadside redies. We created a platform and we put people on ground in a lot of cities to go speak to them street after street after street, get them registered with us, put their details and what they're selling, and then anybody from our consumer side who went to the micro side is able to figure out within 500 meters who are the people selling diyas, who are the people selling lanterns, who are the people selling whatever. They could just call them, place the order. If the guy is willing and able to deliver, they will deliver. Otherwise, he will keep the order ready. The guy can go pick it up, and that's about it. Right. So again, generosity for somebody, and this I'm talking about experiential ideas. Even if you see a series of TVCs and digital films that we do, it is always about किसी और की खुशी में शामिल होके देखो. You know, so
Yeah.
it's been a sustained effort, and this I think pushes it much further to say that uh, किसी और की खुशी बढ़ा के देखो. And I'm not putting a brand lens to it right now, but basically that is what you're doing, right? I mean, you're creating delight for somebody that you care about, and it's as simple as that. There is no. I mean, of course, there is science and everything, but for me, the measure of success is how well am I able to land the brand platform to the consumers, and how well are they able to relate to it.
Mhm. Yeah, no. And that shows, I mean, that absolutely shows in the work that Innovations has been doing at large. Uh, Great. So beyond this specific campaign, like how do you see or envision AI being utilized in the broader creative strategy beyond just what we are doing today? Like how do you see this panning out for brands going forward?
Mm, so if I talk, there are two ways I see it happening. One is a mass adoption, where a lot more personalized messaging campaigns will happen. They're already happening. I think you guys are one of the front runners in terms of the number of brands that you're working with in terms of personalization at scale. The second part, and I'm not just talking about AI, more specifically about generative AI. I think we as advertisers need to understand that there is mass adoption. That's one part of it that is probably going to solve a business problem, or it will solve a communication problem. It will probably solve a personalization problem. And that's all good. That is all important and needed uh, eh, for its own reasons, right? The other side of it is that as creative agencies, and not just Ogilvy, but all creative agencies, technology, any technology, is a tool to enable great ideas. I think that's something that we all need to sort of acknowledge and understand, that just the technology by itself is not the idea. So there is the idea, and then there is the technology, and they come together to create a great campaign. Increasingly, what I see is the technology is being positioned as the campaign or the idea, and that doesn't work. Right. So as long as we remember that the idea has to be at the heart of what we do, I think AI has a great role to play. But again, if there is no idea, then you're just doing what everybody else is doing. Right. So I mean, going back to the SRK campaign, it wasn't a world's first. It was the context which is what made it what it became. Right. I mean, in fact, one of our WPP group companies only went ahead and did the exact same thing for Rakhi, where Hrithik Roshan was used, and there was a personalized Rakhi greeting for the sister. Uh, it did okay. Uh, Not that it didn't do well, it did okay. There was a lot of takers, there was a lot of delight. But the talkability of the technology came about when SRK happened, right? So that's the differentiation in my head, that technologies to aati rahegi. Uh, you know, generative AI today is able to do so much. Tomorrow it might be able to stitch together a 1 minute PVC. In 2 years' time, it might be able to generate a 15-minute short film also. I don't know.
Yeah.
But without a script, what is that short film going to do?
Yeah.
Without a great script, what is that short film going to do? Right?
Yeah.
So the idea is the heart, and
Yeah.
then body is what the technology creates.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that that's bang on. A lot of fear around AI taking jobs and everything. I always give this analogy that, like think of AI as machinery. So what the machinery, what it did to industrialization, right? Is what
Yeah,
AI might do to, like this industry, or like, like most of the media based industries, that and generative AI does. Just that, hey, like the machineries will just help you do a lot more of what you were doing, and you will not be doing the repetitive tasks anymore. That will be
yeah,
handed over to AI, but then like a lot more stuff will be possible now. Like earlier, if we were doing, let's say, 2 campaigns in a quarter, we can probably do 20 now. In a quarter.
yeah.
But then, your brains will be where your brains should be, and all the operational work and
Correct.
transactional work could be handed over to AI.
Yeah, like something as simple as how we think about brand boards when we
Yeah,
when we think of campaigns. When you do it manually, you're probably able to do two or three. With generative AI, you can probably do 20, 30,
correct,
and then choose the best three.
correct,
But
exactly.
that thought process is still yours.
Yeah,
Instead of somebody sitting in the studio
yeah,
making those brand boards for you,
yeah,
you're now able to just narrate what you have in your mind, um, and you can see it in real time as to what it is
yeah,
looking like, and it helps marketeers also to see what kind of output can I expect, even from a storyboarding perspective, even from
yeah.
a scripting perspective. So these tools are enablers, they're not the
Mhm.
doers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. And in fact, like, like for example, like there was a time when a painting artist had to literally build his own canvas, and so like that's not required anymore. Obviously, you can just go buy a canvas and
Yeah,
start painting right away. You can just pick up your iPad now and start painting on top of it. So the
yeah,
the real artist is the one who's actually thinking about, the idea, and not the one who's actually building the canvas. Right. So I mean, anything that need not require your time should not require your time. And so like, these
yeah.
are tools that just help you take away that bandwidth from you. Uh, and like while working with AI projects, because you've been doing tech for a while, like any surprising or unexpected insights that you'd want to share that you learned for the broader audience that might not have attempted it yet and might start attempting it after listening to this podcast, like any interesting insights that you'd want people to take away from this.
So, I mean, I'll give you a couple of them actually. I wouldn't call them surprising or unexpected. Um, Insights. I'll just call them insights that came about.
Yep.
Uh, I think when we first started working with AI, I think people didn't know what AI was. मतलब term सुना था artificial intelligence, but वो क्या होता है वो पता नहीं था. So what we realized is we don't need to specify that we're using. If object recognition is what we're doing, we need to specify the tool that we are using. We don't need to get into the mechanics of it, because then people start getting confused. Non-technical people start getting confused, right? Second bit, which is more recent, is that uh, it's something that I've already touched upon, but I think I deep dived into the legalities of what you need to do to make sure that what you're putting out there is absolutely ethical. I think that was a huge learning from. Not, I wouldn't call it an insight, but the learning was that there can be so many pitfalls if you're not careful with generative AI. And which now has become an insight to say that anything to do with generative AI, there are some hygiene checks that we need to do. Something as simple as saying that it cannot be an open-ended interaction. that a consumer is able to do. You have to define your use case. Your systems need to define what generative AI is supposed to do, and that's a big insight. That you can't just say that here is a platform where your child can narrate anything and it'll visualize it for you. Because while our intent is clean, it is intended for a child's use. Uh, there are elements which don't always use it for the intended purpose, right? So that's one big insight, that you need to define what you want to do, and you need to build um, guardrails around it to make sure that whatever you're building has to be, or should only be, used for the purpose for which it is built. And especially as marketeers, as advertisers, we need to be cognizant.
Absolutely. And guardrails is definitely something that's extremely important, especially with the way generative AI has the ability to think for itself. In fact, like because now I'm in the generative AI space, I have so many friends who are like pioneers of this space. I literally saw an app yesterday that my friend has built for fun, where he has a
Hmm.
council literally of 5 people. One of them is Einstein. One of them is Rick from Rick and Morty. One of them is a Hollywood actress. One of them is a mathematician, and so on and so forth. And he just asks life problems to this council. So this council would just act like themselves, have a healthy debate amongst themselves in the style of a Hollywood actress and Rick and Einstein. Like, literally, those words would be used that usually you would expect an Einstein or a Rick from Rick and Morty would use. And the final suggestion is given to the guy. So I was asking, for example, yesterday that, hey, I had a breakup with my girlfriend. What should I do next? And then the whole council started debating, and I was just reading through the whole thing, the debate that was happening. And I was like, this is fun, but this can
Yeah,
go anywhere, because it is so open-ended. Like there's
yeah,
no, like this can go anywhere. And like, but I was
yeah,
also impressed with how generative AI is able to literally learn, the style of thinking of a particular person and mimic that to solve a problem for you. So, and
yeah,
something very similar that we did with rap as well, where we literally mimicked how to rap. Otherwise, like Gan at large wasn't a rap generating company at all. We were
yeah,
just an audio generating company. But AI and
right,
generative AI is capable of literally mimicking someone's style of
yeah.
talking, rapping, speaking, and so it's a lot of fun stuff that you can do with it. And my last question to you, because you've done quite a few, and this is like a difficult question to ask. It's like asking you who is your favorite child, but what's your favorite brand campaign that you've worked on?
Favorite. Uh, I think I won't call it a favorite, but the Vodafone Puck campaign, I think I rate that above all the others, because that was a time where there was a lot of doubt about whether it'll happen or not.
Mm.
So I mean, take it the way you do, but it was almost like saying, "I told you so." You know, people
Yeah,
were waiting to say that, because there
yeah,
were so many people from the broadcasting side, the on ground side, brand side, who were not really convinced that this will happen, waiting to say, "I told you so." And then uh, me having a smile on my face saying, "Happened, thank you, bye." So from a satisfaction lens, I think that I would say would be the top rated, because see now, over the years, when I say no, it is taken on face value. When I say yes, it is taken on face value.
mm,
Uh,
yeah,
तब नया था, तब to say that 6 years back live TV पे AR कर लेंगे, uh, was something that, and I won't name the company, a very big company said this is not possible in the time that you guys have. It requires at least 4 months, and even then the quality of output might not be what you want. Right. So there was a lot of, uh, how do I put it? Not mistrust, but lack of conviction ki ho jayega. But thankfully, the marketing head at Vodafone that time said, it's a gamble. I'm willing to take it. If it happens, great. It'll set us in, onto a path of doing great work. Uh, and it worked out. But like I said, I mean, it is not about the campaign as such. It is just about the satisfaction.
Absolutely. Very well, said. There's people like you and me who are trying to redefine, what is possible, what is not. And obviously, when you do that, especially at a young age, people question. But in the end, if you do it, you really get that kick. Absolutely. I would like to end with what's written right behind you, which is Lage Raho. So I would say, Rajneesh, Lage Raho. You're doing some really, really good stuff, in the market. And I think a lot of people like me are just waiting for the next big campaign that you do. Very, very inspiring conversation. Thank you so much for spending 1 hour with me today.
No, I didn't even realize it's been an hour. So thank you so much. I mean, when you don't realize how much time you've spent, it usually tells you how much fun you had. So I will leave on that note.
Thanks today.